Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino. He's two-time Super Bowl champion Jonathan Casillas. We'll be here for the next hour to talk New York Giants football, and you can join the fun if you like at 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. And as always, you could hit us up with a hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter and on the Giants YouTube page where we simulcast our program. And you can also send us some comments and questions through that as well. As always, if you don't catch the show live, you can catch it and all of our other programs on the Giants Podcast Network. It's on your mobile app as well as podcast platforms everywhere and at giants.com/podcasts. We come to you from the Giants Podcast Studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Now, the headline for the week is not that the Giants play the New England Patriots in Foxborough on Monday Night Football, which of course is almost a week away. No, the headline for the week is that the Giants have a new defensive coordinator, as outside linebackers coach Charlie Bullen has been named the new DC, replacing Shane Bowen, who was dismissed after the game the other day in Detroit. So here's what we want to do today. I know yesterday when the news came out about the maneuver, most of you probably wanted to talk about the Giants defense to this point and some of the things that you saw or certainly wanted to opine about. I think what we'd like to do today, for the most part, is talk about Charlie Bullen and what he might be able to do to make things better moving forward. The Giants have 5 games left. Now, Jonathan, let me just start by asking you this. How many times during the course of your career do you remember either a head coach, a coordinator, or a position coach change from your college days through your pro days?
I think it was just once.
Once.
I was in New Orleans with the whole Bounty Gate situation, but that was
Greg Williams.
That was before the season started when they made basically the switch over. Sean Payton was suspended, Greg Williams was suspended, so we already knew going into the season,
right,
what we were up against. Steve Spagnuolo actually coached me for my first year in 2012. He was the defense coordinator at the beginning of the year, so there wasn't a switch during the season. But in 2017, when I was here, that was the year McAdoo got fired in the middle of the season, and then that was the whole fiasco of the 2017 season. Reese got fired, McAdoo got fired, Eli Manning got benched for the first time in his career. It was
Let's not relive that, okay?
It was very hectic.
That's why I asked you how many other times, because I knew about that time.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had others.
It would in 2017. It was a bit chaotic, to be honest.
It was,
but I don't have the same sense here. I don't see the chaos in terms of, Kafka stepping up to be the interim coach, Bullen stepping up now to be the defensive coordinator. It doesn't feel as chaotic. This Giants team has to be the best 2-10 team I've ever seen in my life. The Giants are in every single game that they play in. Besides with the Eagles game, right? The second Eagles game. And I don't really know of another game where the Giants at least weren't competitive for 3.5 quarters. The fourth quarter,
the Niner game wasn't too good either.
Did a Niners game too. So 2 games out of the 12 games that the Giants played. But every other game, it was a 4-quarter game, came down to almost the last possession, a couple games going into overtime. And the consistent thing that we've seen is the defense not being able to secure the win. I think that was the kind of the tipping point, in the decision to move on from Shane Bowen. 2 years of a defense, Shane Bowen-wise, that was a run-stopping defense in Tennessee when Shane Bowen was there. And the Giants have been the worst team stopping the run in the NFL. They're giving up almost 6 yards a carry, maybe a little more than 6 yards a carry now.
Dead last. 5.9.
Last week, Paul.
Yeah.
12 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And then the overtime situation with Dexter not being on the field, that last play, they didn't even get the third down. It was just not a good situation for the defense. Where you look at the offensive side of the ball, these guys are doing trick plays. These guys are fighting hard. And the big question mark going into the 2025 season was the offense. And now it's been the defense the entire year, ever since the first game against the Commanders, definitely the overtime loss to Dallas in Dallas. You know, it's been a question mark, and the Giants just haven't answered the questions that's been asked. I've been seeing a lot of gap integrity issues, right? Questioning the effort, but when I look at it, it's not really effort. It's more of the bad decision making by these defensive players that may look like there's effort issues. Those are the things that Bullen has to address. Gap integrity, number one. Linebackers, secondary, guys that are in the run fit, those safeties that are in the box, being downhill and aggressive. Guys that are getting crack blocked, you know, the support guys, actually being aggressive and having support on the perimeter. Those are the things that plague the Giants. Then also guys in the middle of the field not getting pushed off the ball. I think Dexter's doing a great job. He's still getting the respect that Carl Banks said he wasn't getting. I've been seeing him getting double teamed since then, and he's doing a good job, but there's other guys that need to hold down the fort a little bit stronger. Look, this is not switch out the coordinator, fire the coordinator, and move on, and know all the answers are fixed. Like,
right.
That's not what's going to happen here.
We do know that.
But I do think that there has to be accountability. There has to be some integrity. And at the end of the day, when you want to go ahead and establish your physical presence, it's all about stopping the run and running the football. Offensively, no matter what they're doing in the beginning of the game, with Kafka taking the helm the last few weeks, they're sticking to the run throughout the game. And as the game progresses on, the run game gets stronger. The linemen get better. They start leaning on these defensive guys. And it's working vice versa for the defense. The defense, no matter what happens early in the game, they can be shutting the run down. They can be doing a good job. And as the game goes on, they start giving some leaky plays here and there. Then a big one pops. And you saw that last week. It was evident because, if I'm not mistaken, Gibbs only had 15 carries. He only had 15 carries.
3 huge explosive runs.
It's insane.
The defense will only get one piece of reinforcements back, at least that we know of. We think that maybe Paulson Adebo will be ready to play this week. That won't help the rush defense. He's obviously a cornerback. We don't know exactly where Tay Banks stands right now. We don't know exactly where Kayvon Thibodeau stands right now. We found out after Sunday's game, Mike Kafka said that indeed Dexter Lawrence is hurting. He's banged up. Now, the Giants are not going any further than that. We discussed the reasons why you don't do that as a team or as a player on last week's show when Jonathan and I were on BBKL. We actually had that very conversation about Dexter quite possibly not being close to 100%. And yet, what we found out Sunday is that Kafka, in association with the defensive coaches, strategically paced Dexter throughout the game because they knew he did not have a ton of snaps in him. And so we found out that that's the reason why he was not out there for the first overtime snap, which, of course, resulted in a game-deciding touchdown run. So, you know, to say that that was a surprise to some, maybe so. It was not to us because we have discussed that very possibility that he is just not right yet. And quite frankly, he's not going to get right over the last 5 games of the year.
No. I mean, the bye week could be helpful after next week. The latest bye, I don't know if throughout the whole NFL, but that's a really late bye. But, you know, a bye is a bye, and you actually can rest a little bit, take a couple days off because – you know, when you're going throughout the week, it's so hard to be, you know, on the injury report, because I wouldn't say injured, because being on the injury report doesn't mean you're injured. You know what I mean? Like, if you're healthy to play, but you still got to go through practice. And sometimes it's like it kind of doesn't help with whatever thing you have ailing, but you need the reps. You need to see what you're going against this week. And the Giants defense got their hands full with this offense. You know, Drake May is a very talented quarterback. You know, he's a guy that goes through his progressions. He's a rhythm guy. He's very good at navigating the pocket. He can create with his legs. I think he has about 400 rushing yards on the ground. And you know what surprised me? He's, I think, first or second in the league in passing yards, and he hasn't had a 300-yard game this season.
No, he is not. That's
so interesting to me. But that means he's a very consistent, very efficient player. Watching the game last week, he had the pick six. That was kind of an errant throw on his part. Haven't really seen too many throws like that from him. He's a guy that is an accurate thrower of the football. He's leading the league in accuracy.
Over 70%.
And he distributes the ball.
He does.
He has no discrepancy of who he wants to go to. I feel like he always makes the right read. He always makes the right decision. And that's a big compliment for a guy that's only in his second year. And he's not even in his full second year. He's basically in his first year still, because he didn't play for a few weeks last year. And then this year, we're on week, 13 now? So
yeah.
He's a guy that's improved so much since he started, and the Giants have their handful. And they want to run the football over there with Stevenson and those running backs.
Think about this for a second. There are some really prolific passers in this league. Yet, the Patriots, with Drake May, have 45 completions of at least 20 yards this season, which I believe is tied for second in the National Football League.
He's a great down-the-field thrower.
He is not afraid to wing.
And he's very accurate downfield, too. Yep.
Sure is.
And he makes the right choices, it looks like. You know, I've watched a couple games from him. I haven't really watched the Patriots this year, Paul, at all. Haven't really seen them too much. I think I watched the game when they played the Jets on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. But this was my first time actually sitting down and watching them play. Man, and he's a good talent, man. He makes a lot of smart decisions. And there was one play that impressed me. He was in the midst of getting sacked, and he just kind of just tossed the ball out of his hands for an incompletion, but it wasn't a sack. You know, ended up being an incompletion. And plays like that, man, and you know, you got to tip your hat to what they did last week, because they didn't have a good start against the Bengals last week.
Right.
He did throw a pick six last week. They did punt multiple times to start the game, but man, they finished strong. This is a team that's a resilient team led by a coach that's won multiple Super Bowls for the Patriots, so he understands the toughness and the situational awareness to have when you have a team that, you know, you're not blowing teams out in the NFL, you know, so this is a team that's going to be prepared to finish games, and that's where the Giants have struggled. They have struggled in finishing games no matter what the game went like during the game.
Now, just to give you a little bit of a balancing act on this, he has been sacked in every single game this year.
Yep.
They have yet to have a clean game, that offensive line of the Patriots. Twice, he's been sacked 6 times in a game.
He does hold on to the ball.
Okay.
And they have a couple of injuries now that they have to worry about coming into this week.
Indeed they do. And he's thrown an interception in 4 of the last 5 games.
Yep.
So it's not all roses.
No, not at all.
There are a few thorns in there too. Okay. However, clearly he's having a Pro Bowl caliber season. There's no question about that. Now, before we get to your phone calls, let's talk about Charlie Bullen. 41 years old. He has had a number of jobs on the defensive side of the ball in this league. He's been with the Dolphins. He's been with the Cardinals. Obviously, we know him with the Giants. Primarily working with the linebackers, but he has worked with defensive line during the course of his career as well. He also spent a year, I believe, with Illinois with Brett Bielema, right, who we know well. He was here with the Giants for a very short time.
My head coach in the University of Wisconsin.
Indeed he was. And, by the way, doing a really nice job at Illinois. So this is a guy who's got some background and some pedigree. Even though he's only 41 years old and looks like he might be 31 years old, I give him a lot of credit. He's going to that Dick Clark School of Youth. But he has been around a while. And so I guess what I want to ask you, Jonathan, as someone who was an outside linebacker in this league, the outside linebackers coach, when you look at the hierarchy of the coaches on defense, defensive coordinator is number 1. Is it usually the defensive line guy is the second in line and then it goes by the units? Or does the linebackers coach, or at least maybe you can even take a guess if you want to, is the linebackers coach the next in line behind the coordinator in terms of formulating the game plan and being in terms of the heart of what you're trying to do?
It's usually the middle linebacker, because they are the ones that are in charge of communication to the whole entire defense. But, you know, it all depends on, you know, your familiarity with the defense, you know, your familiarity with the scheme, and your ability to communicate that through all levels, you know, because being a defensive coordinator, you know, it's not the same as being, of course, a specific position coach. Some of these, you know, coaches and players that, you know, like the defensive linemen, not to say they don't care about what's going on the back end, but they kind of don't, you know, like they got to know what's going on up front.
They just want to move
then
forward.
They go forward.
They're going forward. They're downhill,
and the
man.
further you get back away from the ball, the more you got to know and understand. But, I'm not too sure of, the decision of why Bullen went. But I do like Kafka's decision-making up until this point because he's trying to do something because there is issues with the Giants, right?
No doubt.
The reason why the Giants moved on from Dayball, because there was issues here. The reason why Shane Bowen got moved on, because there were issues here. And I think Kafka is just trying to do his best job in trying to fix the issues that are with the Giants. Because if you look at the Giants, when you look at the record, I don't think it's a real good indicator. I'm on Ron St. Brown. He said it. I don't know if you heard the interview from him after the game.
I did.
How he was commending the Giants, and he was almost like surprised of how well the Giants played Detroit and what their record is.
Oh, he came out and said that's not a 2-10 team.
That's not, So there are some things here that the Giants need to fix to go ahead and finish this season off. That's a word that the Giants have been on the other side of not finishing games, not finishing drives, not finishing quarters. Let's see if Kafka can figure out a way to put the right pieces in place. Bullen here, I like the decision of not playing Carter for the first drive, disciplinary things.
2 weeks ago.
Like, put your foot down, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is a team that, against the Cowboys week 2, they were fine. They had 21 penalties that were called. Of course, not all of them were accepted. For me, that's showing a team that's not disciplined.
Well, they're still third in the league in drawing flags right now.
That means that's a team that's undisciplined. You have to have disciplined players. You have to have, because all of the talent the Giants have, and the Giants are talented, and the Giants aren't with their starting quarterback, starting wide receiver, starting running back, and they're still having the ability to score points, but they're still making a lot of mistakes. And for me, you have to have accountability. And it looks like Kafka is trying to use that to motivate this team to hold them accountable.
Okay. Now, let me go back to what you said about a minute ago when you said fourth quarter. We know that's been the bugaboo for this team all year long. So give me, based on your experiences, and you've worked for a number of defensive coordinators over the course of your career, including Steve Spagnuolo, who we all have tremendous respect for. Did you notice a common thread on your most successful teams about how the coordinator adjusted, changed things, either personnel or schematically, or maybe even on the fly? I know Spags love to do things on the fly in the fourth quarter of games, because it's clear that the Giants defense can hold up for 3 quarters.
Yep.
And then in the fourth quarter, it's not happening. So now they've made a change for the guy calling the plays. Has it been your experience that there is a significant difference in how a fourth quarter defense is called?
Listen, the defenses I've been a part of that were, I think, really good defenses, and Greg Williams, and we'll just name 2, Greg Williams and Coach Spagnuolo. As the game went on, no matter what the score was, when it started getting to those pressure situations, especially if you have a lead and the offense has to have certain plays, the defenses I've been a part of, they don't become lax. They get more physical. They get more strenuous. They blitz a little bit more. They put more pressure in pressure situations. And that's what we haven't seen from the New York Giants. The Giants have been what we've called soft, playing off the ball from, these cornerbacks in certain situations, 3rd downs and 4th downs, and got to have it placed to get to field goal range for the offenses, and they're just giving them cushions. Those are what we call, and Spagnuolo used, a chunk defense, where the offense has to get a chunk, so you play off a little bit. And Spags had that in his repertoire, but he never really went to it. Because you always need, I think, to challenge an offense. You always need to be up in the quarterback's face, make him throw not like this from the pocket, but like this from the pocket, where he's kind of off balance a little bit. Because I think that has an advantage for the defense, right? And of course, sometimes when you do max out blitzes, when you do 0 blitzes, you're leaving guys on the island sometimes. But you don't let these quarterbacks get into a rhythm. And a lot of times late in games, it's all on the quarterback because they're doing no huddles. They're doing, straight from their call. Right. And once a quarterback gets into a rhythm, it's not about what the offensive coordinator is calling. It's about what the quarterback's doing and how he's feeling the game. And if you can mess up that rhythm, I think you got him. And the Giants just haven't been able to do that late in games. I think they're a little bit too passive. And you shouldn't be passive on defense, especially when the game is coming down to the line.
So let me paraphrase here, and you may agree and maybe not, but I think you will. My two pieces of advice for Charlie Bullen would be, number one, don't give free releases to wide receivers in the fourth quarter anymore, right, because we've seen too much of that.
Right.
And, by the way, make sure that your front seven is playing downhill.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Those would be the two pieces of advice I would give him in the fourth quarter that might change the Giants' fortunes. Now, you are going to run into a certain amount of risk with that. We understand. But let's face it, the other way hasn't worked.
Has not worked. Mm-mm. And I love Kafka's approach. The first week when Kafka took over, he kept on saying it over and over and over again. We are going to be aggressive on offense, defense, and special teams. And I just think that the defense hasn't really held up its end of the bargain when it comes to being aggressive. So again, what I was saying, later in games, be aggressive. Put the pressure on these quarterbacks. Drake May, he's pretty good, but he's still young. And young quarterbacks make mistakes. So if the game does come down to being a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, put some pressure on them. Add an extra blitzer. Add a cornerback blitz. Maybe throw something that you haven't seen. Hold something until the fourth quarter, and then you throw at him. So the first time he sees it is in the fourth quarter in a crucial situation.
The last thing in the world that I would want to see in a situation such as that is the pitch and catch, which, quite frankly, we've seen much too much of.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, let's face it, folks. The one thing when it comes to crunch time, and I've called the Giants very unclutch, right? That's the word I've used. They are unclutch. In the most important moments of the game, they're not making the plays and the other team is. Well, I think part of the reason is the Giants have made it too easy for the other teams to make those plays.
Yep. And look, there's something into it that, there's only so much a defensive coordinator can do. But you haven't had, the players that have been making plays, even Brian Burns, who has been phenomenal this year. You haven't had guys on defense make those game-ending closing plays, whether it's an interception to seal the deal, whether it's a sack, a forced fumble, a punch-out, a game-saving tackle, a fourth down stop, a third down stop. They just haven't done them, and they do it throughout the game. Burns has had his sacks throughout games.
Oh, yeah.
And he's had his pass deflections throughout games. But when it comes down to it, the Giants have to figure out a way, regardless of the call that's being called, for one of those defensive guys to make a game-changing play at the end of the game in crunch time that are clutch plays, like you said.
Folks, dial us up, 201-939-4513. We'll take your phone calls, and we will start with Jason in New Haven. You're first on the program. Hello.
Hey, Paul and Jonathan, how you guys doing?
Hi, thanks for calling.
How are you, sir?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say, if you guys celebrate the holidays, happy holidays to you and your family.
Back at you. And to everybody out there, happy Turkey Day.
Yes,
just don't overdo the stuffing.
Yes. Yeah. So, I'm not surprised that Shane was released or let go. I've said it before, these guys are still people at the end of the day. So it's never easy to lose a job, lose a position, but like you guys stated, Jonathan, you've played, Paul, you've covered the team for decades. It's a results-oriented business, man. I mean, it is what it is. And our defense this year has been a sieve. I mean, look at all the games we were in. A lot of people will knock Joe Shane. And while he's had some misses, we have a talented team, man. We've gone toe-to-toe with some pretty tough teams. We were 13-point underdogs going into Detroit. All I heard last week was, oh, man, Detroit's going to smoke us. They're going to smoke us. And we were really giving it to Detroit.
Yeah.
That stadium was pretty quiet for most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, man, it's been a tough season, but we have some guys that I think we could grow with. And a few positive points. I know it's been kind of negative, all season, but a few things from the game that I loved. man, Wan'Dale has really showed up this year. If I'm not mistaken,
yes,
I think he's 9th in the league in receiving yards.
And 9th in catches as well.
That for a slot receiver to be doing that, you know, I know our record is bad, so a lot of people aren't talking about him. He's having a hell of a season, man. I don't know what his future will be after this year, but man, he's having a really good season.
He's got a legit shot at 1,000 yards.
Yep.
He really does. He got a very, very legit shot, which would be something else, I'll tell you.
The old Shefsky to Jameis play, man. What can I say, man? That's probably, and I'm not using her hyperbole, but that's probably one of the best plays I've seen all year in any game. I mean, you know, Jonathan, as a linebacker, how do you even come back? I forgot the linebacker that covered him on that play. I think his last name was Barnes. I mean, he has to be kicking himself to give up that touchdown to
and the thing
Jameis.
is, so this is the thing, Jason. When you win a game, right, like that, like they won, Detroit won the game, right? Yes. So now people can clown you because you won the game.
Oh, yeah. You
know, if you lost the game, nobody's going to clown anybody because everybody looks bad, you know? But once you win the game and they play it on film, like one of the linebackers going to be like, hey, coach, can you rewind that, please?
How about the juke inside the 10-yard line by Jameis?
That's embarrassing. Jameis is a big guy, though.
Well, he calls himself an athlete.
He is a big guy, and he's a great athlete, too.
And he absolutely is. And by the way, just for the record, I did check with the Elias Sports Bureau on this. It is the first ever touchdown catch by a Giants conventional quarterback. Back before the 40s, in the 20s, 30s, and the 40s, a lot of times your quarterback was really just a running back under center.
Right.
You know, it wasn't the conventional quarterback that the league has morphed into.
So you telling me Eli Manning didn't catch a touchdown pass?
Absolutely not. And believe me, if he had, he would have told you about it. But so that is the first ever touchdown catch by a conventional Giants quarterback in the franchise's 101 years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely, just an incredible play by Olszewski to even maneuver and step up in the pocket. And I mean, just a beautiful play. One of the best plays I've seen all year. And then my last point, I'll get off the air so you guys could take other callers. My thing with the defense now is, and what I've had issues with just overall as a team. I won't even use the defense for now. Just the team. You know, I remember Bill Parcells saying, used to preach bad tackling, bad pass rush, not stopping the run, drop passes, bad run and pass blocking, penalties. All now, of course, the players have something to do with it, of course, because they're playing. But a lot of that stuff falls on the lap of bad coaching. And look what and I know you guys know, but look what Kafka's doing, right? Without Neighbors, without Dart, and without Scatterable, probably our three best offensive weapons, arguably. Look what he's doing with this offense, man. Look what he's doing. That's what coaching is right there. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get the head coach, but when I say coaching, that's coaching right there, and we just didn't get that from the defense. So I'll let you guys go, man. It's been a rough year, but I still think we got some talent. I think we're going to win a few of these last few games. New England does not scare me. I didn't think Detroit scared me, just like the Broncos didn't scare me. And as long as Kafka is being aggressive and going for the throat, we have nothing to lose. We're 2-10. So you know what? Go for it. Send the blitz, like you said, Jonathan. Go after the young man from New England. We have nothing to lose. So I appreciate you guys. Happy holidays.
You too, my man.
Same to you, brother.
Call again. I want to give you a couple numbers here, Jonathan. Maybe you've looked at these rankings. Maybe you haven't. The Giants' offense for the season, this is not like just since Dart took over. This is for the season. They are 7th in the NFL in first downs, by the way, which tells you about a team's efficiency to be able to drive the ball down the field. 7th in first downs. They are 11th in third down percentage. They are 11th in total average yards per game offensively, 9th in rushing yards per game offensively, and 13th in passing yards per game offensively. If you didn't follow, that means they're in the top half.
Top half. Top third in every
virtually
category.
In every category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And no Neighbors. For most of the season. No Scatteraboo for half the season. Rookie quarterback.
3 quarterbacks, actually, that played this year.
I mean, Holy smokes.
And that was the big question coming into this season, right?
And think about this. The two best seasons the Giants have had offensively under the Dable Kafka regime, 22 and 26, Kafka called the plays in both of those seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like Kafka, man. You know, I got a relationship with him. He went to Northwestern at the same time I was at Wisconsin. You know, people, of course, everybody's asking me, who do you think is going to be the head coach? I said, well, let's see what Kafka can do.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's not about winning and losing, especially when it comes to this team. You know, I don't know what it is, but like, you know, last year, the year before, like I was, you know, like, man, I'm so tired of the Giants not being competitive in games. And, you know, we're getting more competitive games, still kind of the same outcome, but it just feels different, right? This team feels like they can compete with anybody. You know,
yeah.
Even last week, you know, I didn't have the Giants beating Detroit because I just think Detroit's one of the better teams in the league. But I didn't feel like they didn't belong on the field with them. You know, I'm just going off of the Giants can't finish.
It took a career-long field goal.
Yeah.
That kid Bates.
Which he was helped out by.
59 yards.
And he was helped out. And that was that was a dumb play. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. That was, and he's a veteran guy. That was so bad. That was so bad. But like, that is the things when you have an undisciplined team.
Yeah.
And as a veteran too. The reason why you brought him in here because of his veteran presence and the playmaking ability. And you wouldn't think a guy like that would make a play like that. I'm not gonna say his name, but everybody watch the game. You know who I'm talking about. And those are the things that need to be corrected. Sometimes it's not just about X's and O's when it comes to situational football. That has nothing to do with them playing good football. That has everything to do with them making the right decisions. And that's the thing I've been saying, Paul. It's not about the effort. It's about the decision making. Some of these guys are not making the right decisions, whether it's during the play, whether it's post-play, whether it's pre-play. Right? They're just not making the right decisions. And you have to be able to get that to at least give yourself a chance. And the Giants just haven't been making the right decisions, whether it's pre-play, some of these, you know, jumping off sides, some of these, you know, lining up in the neutral zone, like not being downhill on run plays, not believing what you see in front of you, not engaging, and then going inside instead of staying outside, going outside instead of, like, just those decisions makes it look so bad on film. And then you hear everybody saying, oh, the Giants are soft and they're playing soft and the effort is questioned. And I don't really see the effort. It's just the decisions that are made, Paul. When you look at it on the all 22, it's like, okay, I understand why they're questioning the effort of this play or this player because he made a poor decision that makes the whole defense look bad. And that's what the Giants have to stop doing. You have to stop making poor decisions, especially when it gets late in games because everything is magnified at that time.
Let's go back to the phones. Tim in Charleston, you're next on the show. Hello.
Hey, Paul, JC, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you, Tim?
Good. So, Paul, you just touched on one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is how highly we're ranked in all the offensive categories, of course, offset by the defense. So, I break it down. The problems of the defense, and the only reason we're not even better in offensively is our red zone scoring is 29th in the league.
Terrible.
And our turnover differential because we're not getting enough turnovers. But a couple other things I want to touch. One other thing I want to touch on before I answer what you posited at the beginning, Paul, is that, you know, in the past, the last time the Giants elevated internally a linebackers coach to defensive coordinator went fairly well. A guy some people have heard of by the name of Bill Belichick. And the other two times where we brought one in to be defensive coordinator who had previously been a linebackers coach with another team was Spagnuolo, who was linebackers coach with the Eagles right before that.
Yeah.
And then Parcells, who after having been with the Giants, was with the Patriots as linebackers coach.
Yep.
So hopefully the trend continues of successfully elevating into linebackers coaches to defensive coordinators. Because I personally would like to see Kafka do well with a few games here, and I'd like to see him really get a real shot to keep this job because the offense has thrived, and then we keep Carmen Barcelo, who's obviously been so crucial to the offensive line.
He has been outstanding.
Stability.
You know, I think we should take a second here, Tim, just to, again, give Russillo a pat on the back. Because last year when he got here, we told people that his reputation, and we could see how he was working with these guys, he was definitely improving the unit. But the overall results were probably not as high as people wanted them to be. Well, here in year 2, he has really brought out a whole new style and a whole new physicality in that offensive line that we haven't seen around here in a long time.
Yeah. So, and then to get to what you asked at the beginning is what things we'd like to see different on the defense. I mean, the obvious one is, get better against the run. I mean, but I don't even know where to go with that right now.
Yeah, because McFadden is not ready yet to come back. Yeah. I mean, that Dexter's hurting, and McFadden is not capable of getting on the field right now. So what can you do? There's not a lot you can do to help the rush defense right now. There's really not. Unless you go with a 4-man down line, which is something.
You got to change the whole defense.
I don't know that you could do that right now with only a month left in the season.
But the other thing I'd like to see, because when teams feel like they either want to or need to pass against us, the other thing that I'm seeing is like, when we're in a zone, it's like I feel like the zone's too soft. It seems like, and just this last game, the Lions game, how many times did one of the Lions receivers pick a spot, stop, turn around, and there's a giant 3 yards to the left of him, there's a giant 3 yards to the right of him, there's a giant 3 yards behind him, and he's just sitting there open and catches a pass, standing still basically. I understand when guys flip the seam and they're moving between the layers of the zone, that's hard to stop. But when guys are just going out there and planting and no one is even able to hit them to catch the ball,
Tim,
I just feel like the zone has been too soft.
I'm going to say something that's a little bit off what you're talking about. How do they get there? And you're going to help me with this, Jonathan. How do those guys get to those spots? They get free releases off the line. Mm-hmm. You let them run the route that they want to run, they will find the dead spots and the open spots in your zone. It's just that simple. So I sounds like you got some police after you, my friend. Call us back after you get that squared away and get your bail money. Okay? Please do, because we love you, Tim. We hope you can get the cash. But by giving guys free releases and letting them run the route that they want to run right from the snap, you're asking for trouble, aren't you?
Well, I mean, there's certain defenses, like in a conventional cover 2, you're not really rerouting nobody. The corners are rerouting the number 1 receivers on the outside. But you're allowing people to catch the ball in front of you. Like, that's what you're allowing that to happen in cover 2.
But in cover 2, you're also relying on your corners to close quickly.
Yes.
And when they are so far back, they're not closing very fast at all.
That's why it's like certain situations, right? When you're running these cover 2 is a soft defense.
It is, but the Giants don't run a lot of it.
No, they don't. I'm just talking about like conventional zones that are soft, right, per se. And you basically allow underneath, and you have 5 underneath zone players that are supposed to rally and tackle, and they get their hands on footballs, right? Some of these defenses, I feel like, are coached up before the snap that have a soft alignment. And that's what we've been seeing from the Giants. Some of these conventionally soft defenses, they're soft pre-alignment, so it makes it double soft. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just allowing a 4-yard catch in front of you. You're allowing an 8-yard catch in front of you.
You'll see DBs backpedal as soon as the ball is snapped.
They're already lined up, right.
They're 5 yards back, and they're already backpedaling.
And for me, it's like, if you're aligned that far, you do not move anywhere. So you can drive up for those shallower routes. And I just think that, maybe technique is not taught correctly for the Giants in terms of that, or it's just not executed correctly. It's one of the other, right? It's one or the other. Because in these situations, especially late in games, like, these are challenge situations. These are up in your face type situations, and the quarterbacks, they're not even holding on to the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're on rhythm. They're standing there like this in the pocket and throwing to uncontested receivers.
It's pitching
and
catch.
The Giants are not a great tackling team. So it's literally like it's just a snowball effect of not good football at the end of games. And it's just different. And I keep saying decision making, and it's not just on the defenders. It's about the play calls. It's about the situational calls. It's about being in the right personnel group in those situations. Mm-hmm. Those are all the right decisions that the Giants have to figure out a way to do it, because it's still not going to get any easier. Even when you look a few weeks down the road and you look at the Las Vegas Raiders, right? The Las Vegas Raiders are thinking to their head, oh, this is where we can get our rookie the ball 40 times because the Giants are giving up 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
I get it.
You're not looking at the schedule saying like there's a win here when Giants have been in every single game this year besides the 2 games that we spoke about earlier, but they haven't been able to stop what a team doesn't do well or does do well. The Giants haven't been able to do it when it counts the most, which is the end of the game or even in overtime. The Giants just haven't been able to form. And for me, it's about decision making. And if you make the right decisions pre-snap, it'll help during the game and then during the play and then also post-snap. Stop doing dumb stuff like smacking the ball out of somebody's hands. Like just making better decisions. That's a start. Giving yourself a chance to be competitive in every play.
T-Ty33 does has a YouTube question, and I'm just going to address this real quick. He says, why is Eric Gray back as the return man again over Dante Miller after a strong camp in preseason? Is there a reason that Miller has not gotten a nod all season? That is a mystery to me as well.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Turbo Miller. I do know this. Eric Gray was over a year out with this knee injury. Serious career-threatening knee injury. Worked his tail off, and I mean his tail, to make it back to the point where he could pass a physical and get on an NFL field again. So I'm not going to question the choice of allowing Eric Gray to come off of the inactive list and get on the field, because I applaud him. I congratulated him before the game even was played last weekend for, hey, you made it back. Congratulations. That is a great accomplishment for just being able to pass the physical and get back into an NFL game. I'm so happy for him.
Yep.
Because you know what it's like to be hurt.
Oh, yeah,
That's a monumental achievement that he was able to pull off. So I'm not going to say, should they have activated Turbo over Eric Gray? What I am going to say is that there were times earlier in the season where I thought that maybe Miller could have gotten a chance to be activated, especially when the Giants went with only 2 running backs for several weeks. And I was thinking, well, maybe he could have been the third. They could have done that about a month ago before Eric Gray was even able to come back. And Turbo Miller has not gotten an opportunity. I don't understand it, because he did have a really good summer.
Yeah, in the last couple years as well, in Turbo Miller.
Even better this year, though.
Yeah,
he showed. I thought he showed in the preseason and at camp he was more than just straight line speed. That to me was the biggest change in his game from year 1 to year 2, and I thought it was enough that he would get a shot. But I will say this to the naysayer who says no, they're going to say he's a niche back. Mm-hmm. He's a speed back. You're probably not going to get a lot of blitz protection, because he's a little bit on the smaller side. Yeah. He's not as big and hulky as some of these other backs. So they're probably going to say he's a luxury as a speed back that the Giants really don't have room for, especially with injuries everywhere else, as they were trying to fill holes that were basically busting water everywhere. That's probably the reason why. It's the best one I can come up with. So, but I appreciate it.
And usually when it comes, like if opportunities come for guys that coaches feel like they can trust, that might be an issue there in terms of they trust Eric Gray a little bit more in terms of his, being the third running back and also being a special teams guy. But you have to take advantage of any opportunity that you have, right? And I'm going to use Isaiah Hodgins for an example. He was on the Giants a few years ago, got signed off the Bills practice squad in 2022, and he led the resurgence of the New York Giants and that playoff push that the Giants had in 2022, making big plays. He had a 100-yard receiving game
Minnesota.
In the playoffs.
Huge game in
the
Minnesota.
Playoffs, just a huge game. And then, again, released from the Giants, right? Played on a couple
the end
practice
of last
squads.
Season, San Fran and Pittsburgh.
And the Giants brought him in 2 weeks ago, and he's probably been underneath Wandale. He's been the second best receiver for the Giants.
Yes, he has.
And there's other guys that have been having opportunities consistently with the Giants, and they haven't taken advantage of them. If guys can have that mindset, it's a mindset that you have to have, right? Jameis Winston said it. They asked Jameis, what were you doing when you were waiting, to see if you were going to play? He said, I wasn't waiting, I was preparing. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the X's and O's, it's being mentally ready to when your name is called, you're ready for the moment. When the ball is thrown to you on third down, when the ball is thrown to you on fourth down, like Hodges was his first week with the new quarterback that he's never caught a pass from before.
I know.
In the game with Jameis Winston.
He told me he had concepts down. He wasn't even sure of all the plays. He had concepts.
And think about this, right? How many passes did he probably catch before that fourth down catch from Jameis? Maybe 5 total?
Well, for the game,
throughout the week?
I think he had, right? For the game, he had 5 catches and 6 targets.
But I'm saying, leading up to the game.
Oh, I know.
In practice, because, the quarterback don't work with one wide receiver.
Thursday.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So he's had, one full practice.
Amazing.
Friday's kind of like a sped through practice. Saturday's a walkthrough. So out of all of the receivers, Jameis might have thrown to him, let's call it 10 times total.
Maybe,
if that. And to have the trust in a guy like that on fourth down in the crucial time in the game, which is any fourth down play is a crucial time in the game, and then coming back the next week against the highly talented Detroit Lions in Detroit to score a touchdown. Be ready, guys.
By the way, what a laser beam. Winston
Come on, Jameis.
On that TD
let me tell you
pass.
something. Jameis'
That
arm.
was a laser beam and great concentration by Hodges.
Oh, for sure.
Because it was contested.
Yeah, it would have flew through his face if he didn't. Jameis Winston's arm is second to none. And the thing is, he's such a, when they say the Jameis Winston show, we're getting a full, full episodes, and I want to see what's next on the next episode of Jameis Winston Show. But some of the passes that he throws, and I've played with 3 of the greatest quarterbacks ever, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and of course the great Eli Manning, right? This guy can spin it as good, if not better, than the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play. And I've always been impressed by great throws at football. Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Jameis Winston is incredible. He's incredible.
I laugh because he makes some unincredible throws, too.
That's the Jameis Winston show.
That is the Jameis Winston show.
Because one play you're like, wow, look at that ball, the Theo Johnson on the sideline. And he does it multiple times. And then one pass is like, Jameis, what are you doing?
You old folks remember when you had rabbit ears on your old television and you'd move the rabbit ears to a certain area and the picture would be great. And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, it would get all fuzzy. Yeah. That's kind of the way Jameis Winston is.
You got to bang him on the side of the
Everything is looking good. Everything's marvelous. It's clear as a bell. And then all of a sudden it gets fuzzy.
Real fuzzy. Real quick.
He's a fun guy. We've enjoyed having him around. He's got a contract through next season, so all the more power to him. We want him to do well.
Yes.
But there are definitely some inconsistencies there that have never changed. 11 years in the league, it's not going to change now. Coach Marvin, let's go to you quickly here because we got to get to another call before we sign off. Go ahead. You're next on the show.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
You too, my man.
Happy Thanksgiving, Coach.
Jonathan hit most everything on the money today defensively. I said this, I've been saying this for a while, and I always say that to my teams. The first thing you have to have discipline. That's the first thing I start with when my season begins. And the team has been undisciplined. That's where you get penalties, mistakes, and things like that. You have to be disciplined, and how you do that is you got to make them feel that penalty they caused, that they're going to feel some pain when they come to the sideline and I'm standing there because I'm going to be waiting for them. And so you have to put that in, program them that way. I mean, in anything, a lot of things we do. I've been in the military, and you can't stay in the military if you're not disciplined, and they're going to put that on you. They're going to build you into that, a disciplined person. The other thing was to win. This team has been competitive through the whole season. No, this has been a tough schedule. They've been competitive, and that's the first thing you need to do when you start playing. You can't win unless you're competitive, and they've been competitive. The second thing is once you're competitive, then you learn to win. And what I mean by learn to win, you win those games that you should win. And then after you learn to win those games that you should win, the last nail in the coffin is you become a winner, not just learning how to win, but you are a winner. And that means you're winning games that you shouldn't win. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're growing into, because this is a really talented team. It's just mentally not there. If you look at the defense, I'm watching the game now, the defense plays well the first 3 quarters for some reason. People are going to have big plays. They're professionals on the other side, too. So you're going to give up some plays. It's when you give up those plays. And I think Jonathan hit it on the nail. They're not aggressive in certain situations.
Coach,
it's like you're playing on your heels.
My daughter asked me about this, and she said, Dad, I don't understand why this keeps happening because they're so good until the end. And I said, but Ann, you understand part of the thing that a coach does when he constructs a game plan, he's going to spread out a storyline throughout the course of the game. He's got game flow. He's got a framework. He's got a philosophy. He's setting up plays for later on in the game. But if the Giants are constantly in the lead in the fourth quarter, what do you think those other teams' coaches are doing? They're pulling out the best plays they got, and they're not picking and choosing, and they're not going with philosophies. They're saying, the heck with all of it. We're behind. We need urgency. We need plays. This is the best we got. And if the Giants don't make the proper adjustments to those plays, they're going to pay for it. And quite frankly, it's happened time and time again because they're not coming out with the best defensive plays to match the team's best offensive plays.
Yep. That's
it. Right. Mm-hmm. That's 100% right. You always keep those plays in your pocket. We ran the flea flicker. We ran a lot of trick plays in that first half. Mm-hmm. In my experiences, I wouldn't do that. I may throw one of them out there that I'm trying to get a good jump on them to get a good lead on them. But I'm not going to show them a lot. Those plays, I hold on to them until they're needed in situations.
Coach, they call them the must-have plays, right? The must-have plays.
And both of you guys are talking about the offense. Now, defensively, you need to have that too. You know,
exactly.
Spagnuolo, and I've talked to you about this specific play. It's called Storm. It's his all-out blitz. Mm-hmm. You know when he does it? When it's late in the game and it's third down and the offense has to have it.
That's right.
He sends everyone. And the thing is, sometimes they know what's coming, and he still does it. You know why? Because it creates pressure. It creates adversity. And that's the thing about the Giants late in games offensively. They're not creating adversity for the offense.
No.
They're playing very soft, and they're allowing the offense, and there's like, oh, we'll just go up and tackle it. But the Giants haven't been a great tackling team all year, where they're going up and getting those stops on run plays. There's getting those stops on those check down type of plays. When there's plays that, you know, you're allowing them to catch the ball in front of you, they're allowing them to break tackles and miss tackles after that. So the Giants just need to make, again, with the decision making, better decisions when it comes down late in games. And it's not just having it in a bag for offense. You need that corner blitz or whatever, you know, play that you haven't showed on defense to run in the fourth quarter in a certain situation, maybe towards the left boundary where you send that left cornerback. Mm-hmm. When they're not going to block them at all because you haven't seen it all game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you rocked them to sleep. They saw you for 3 quarters,
exactly.
And they think you emptied the tank.
You got to pull out your best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's
your
it.
Best stuff comes out when that is needed because they're not expecting your best stuff. And there's some things that you have created that they didn't even prepare for. So when I go into a game, I got 4 or 5 plays in my pocket that they have not prepared for because the coach didn't even know about them.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
No doubt.
How can they prepare for something if the coach never told them? So I'm going to shock them with it. And like Jonathan was saying, you quarterbacking, I'm coming to get you, but you ain't even know I'm coming.
Right.
And so that's how you have to do it. I'm going to cut this short, but y'all were talking about the offense, and I think what's happening is that these guys are playing well. The offensive line is playing so well, and I think that's giving them time to do some of the things that they want to do. That's from the offensive side. On the defensive side, I think we just wasn't creative enough with the front guys. Yeah, we're talking about the secondary and stuff. Those two, the front end and the back end, they have to work together. Sometimes it don't in a game. It's going to happen. But I want to give a shout-out to Darius Alexander. I thought he played a well game.
Best game of his career
you
so
guys
far.
have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, Coach.
You too, Coach.
So real quick,
Alexander had his first 2 solo sacks on Sunday.
Before we get to the last caller, and I say decisions again, offensively, their decision to stick with the run, no matter what happens early in the game, because these last 2 games, the Giants were not running the ball efficiently and effectively early in games, but they stuck with the run the entire game, and that kept them, able to make different plays because
somewhat
of that.
on schedule.
Yes. And you might get a 2-yard gain here, and then maybe a 2-yard gain there, and then a 1-yard gain. All of a sudden, they break a 7-yarder. Right, that, like you said, keeps you on schedule. And if you're playing some good ball on 3rd downs and you're floating around 50%, and you add a punt here, with change of field position, that is football. But your ability and the thought process of sticking to the run, understanding that as the game goes on, your linemen will start leaning on these guys. Amon-Ra Brown said it. Amon-Ra St. Brown said it. He said those old linemen were leaning on our guys later in the game because of decision to say we're going to stick to this run no matter what. All of a sudden you see, Tracy start breaking a couple runs later, Singletary start breaking some runs later, and it's all about the thought process of what are we going to be as an offense? Are we going to be a big play type of offense? Do we have the capability of doing that? Or are we going to be a physical, smash mouth, hit you in the face type of offense? And I think the Giants are choosing the latter.
Well, they had a relatively efficient run game the last 2 weeks when even they had to operate without a running quarterback, which tells you something. Okay, because we've all said the Giants' running game has been a lot better this year. Yeah, but Jackson Dart is taking a lot of that load because he's giving them a lot of rushing yardage. The last 2 weeks, no.
It's been all running backs.
No, it's all the running backs. The running backs have been actually doing an adequate job of keeping this offense balanced.
I want to go to, because I know you be getting this too, who's going to be the next Giants head coach.
Yeah.
I really want a guy for the New York Giants that just can hold guys accountable. I just feel like the Giants haven't been able to do that because they have good players here, right? But you got to get the most out of your players. And I don't think the Giants have done that. And I think that's why you're sitting here at a 2-10 record. Being able to finish games, being aggressive. I think the thought process of Mike Kafka, because he is here. He sees what's going on, and I think he understands what the Giants need. And is it going to happen? I don't know. But at least if it starts in that way, I'm not even thinking about anybody else when it comes to a head coach. I'm like, let's see how Mike Kafka finishes this season. Let's see if this team could be accountable, disciplined, and if that can help them at least finish with a win or two, throughout the rest of the season, because they got a couple winnable games on the rest of the schedule.
I always say one of the biggest hurdles that a coach has toward the end of a season that's going poorly is to keep the guys playing hard.
That's it.
Mike Kafka's got 5 games remaining in his audition. As long as these guys keep playing for him all the way to the end, you have to give him consideration.
Yeah.
You have to. Now, if they don't, and they give up on him, and he loses the locker room at some point over the next 5 weeks, which we're all going to be looking at under a microscope, well, then that's a telltale sign that maybe he's not the guy. But as long as they're playing for him, you know what? You got to sit down, and you got to contemplate the possibility that he could be the guy. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Don't forget, the Giants Huddle is available each and every week. I know John's been working hard. He's got a new one coming up, I'm sure, by the end of the week, a Thanksgiving edition, which will also have a preview of Monday night's game in Foxborough against the New England Patriots. Once again, we come to you from the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. And as always, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. From Jonathan, I'm Paul. He's Johnny Mack on the other side of the camera. Enjoy your turkey, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.